Yo guys, what's up? My Elden Ring journey is at an end, but I do not feel emotionally done with Elden Ring. What a fantastic game. Truly a 10 out of 10 score game. But the story is a little confusing. I really enjoyed the game and I'd like to play it more. I'm gonna play the DLC, of course. And I'm also thinking about New Game Plus or a different character. But that's not yet. First, a little palate cleanser. I'll be playing some other games and I'll come back to Elden Ring for sure. But what about that story? What's the story of Elden Ring? In true George R.R. Martin fashion, it's quite confusing. There's many different small little aspects that comprise the whole, but there's many unimportant facts, just like in Game of Thrones. And there's little hints everywhere about the story. If you are a very good study of what's happening, you'll understand a lot more than me, but I've been playing, I've been learning the game, the control scheme, the fights and everything, and it's just one part of the whole. I really enjoyed the story and I pieced together a few parts myself, but there's much I don't know. So I'd like to start watching these Vati Vidya lore videos. They've been highly recommended by many people and I hope that I'll be able to appreciate the lore even more than before and understand it better too, since I'd like to know. But before that, I should probably do a little bit of a guess as to where I think the story is at. To the best of my knowledge, it is going to be horribly wrong, embarrassingly so. There's gonna be things that you've seen me discover during my 160-hour playthrough of the game that I just forgot. I'm sorry, there's a lot going on. As a streamer, you're reading the chat all the time and everything, and you're not writing notes. There's gonna be things I haven't seen, but that's okay. Seeing things, learning some, and forgetting some others, that's all part of it, right? So here's my best guess, without further ado. I am a Tarnished, which is a human-like creature that has lost grace. Grace is some kind of heavenly, divine, guiding, godlike power. Who are the grace? Who are the fingers? It might be all of Marika's children are grace. I don't know. Maybe they're up there in the pantheon of the gods, using their fingers to influence all the creatures on the lands between. Is Rani my two fingers? I don't think so. I think she was a separate entity to the fingers that were guiding me. So I am not directly imbued with grace, with divine intervention, with divine control and power and magic and so on. But there is a divine power out there that was guiding me with all the finger pointing graces. They had a vested interest in my making it to the Erdtree, where I was destined to become Elden Lord, which apparently has many different possible endings, and I only had 3 available, and there's apparently like 15. You choose who to cast your lot with. Rani was an option, and the Volcano Manor was another, and you can also just mend the Erd Ring. Those were my 3 options, I believe. Marika and her kin were human-like, seemingly human-like creatures that wrested away the power to control order and chaos. They wrested it away from dragons. Dragons used to be the shepherds of the runic power of the world. And they were the shepherds and the guardians of the Erdtree. And they didn't like it that Marika and her kin started taking over, so there was a fight. The dragons lost. So Marika and kin became the chieftains of the Erdtree. But after there was an Elden Lord or Lady, whatever, Marika is apparently 2 people in one. Radagon and Marika are together in one, like either a hermaphrodite or 2 in 1, conjoined twins kind of story. They're blonde. They were blonde. Their children started fighting about who's going to be the successor. That's my guess. So Radagon is fighting Malenia, and then she lost, and she was a bad loser, so she turned into a tulip, and then she blew rot all over the world. Now there's rot spreading from Caelid outside, or at least not spreading, but ruined a part of the world. And Radagon, he didn't want to go anywhere anymore. He stayed there in this forsaken wasteland. Death was stolen at the beginning. I saw this in the trailer yesterday of the original Elden Ring. Something I'd never seen and that would have actually helped me to understand things a lot better. Death was stolen by some people. Normal creeps, normal NPCs. Some I forgot who. The Knights of Ni? Yeah, it was in the opening cinematic, but I'd never seen it before I played. Some bad hombres. So death was stolen by the Black Knives on horses, like Nazgul. And when death was stolen, the gods suddenly became killable. Which, to me, it seems ironic. I think it'd be the other way around. If you steal life. If you steal immortality. Not if you steal death, the gods become killable. But they did become killable. And then one died. Which was the blonde guy that died at the start. Forgot his name. Alright, so now suddenly the pantheon, the gods, they're not safe anymore. Because suddenly they're killable. And it suddenly becomes this arms race about who's gonna be the next Elden Lord. Now, why did Ranni and Volcano Manor, why did they all revolt against order? Because essentially Radagon and Marika and all these gods, they represented order. They were in control. There's an order to things. You got bosses, you got minions. So why am I supposed to unleash chaos upon the world? Well, order is bad when it's evil. If it's good order, that's good. That's stability. But if it has turned corrupt to rot, if it is stepping upon the underlings, if it is turning the world diseased, then obviously you must crush the order and restore chaos so that you can shake it up again and make it better. Ranni wants like 1,000 years of loneliness, which didn't sound that good to me, but I guess if we're together, it's not that bad. Right, that's her worldview, her new worldview. I'm sure if I mended the Erdtree together, then I would have had some say about what's going to happen now that I'm Elden Lord by myself, right? So that's kind of the most that I get so far. Most of what I understand of the story and what I don't understand. There's so much more. It could be very wrong. It's obviously very limited. All right, let's go check it out. Elden Ring lore explained from Vati Vidya.
Our story doesn't begin in the lands between. It begins in the cosmos, far away, with an outer god called the Greater Will. There are a lot of outer gods mentioned in Elden Ring. You can think of these kind of like the Great Ones of Bloodborne. They're distant beings, they're all-powerful, and they're quite unknowable by design. But many of these outer gods want to make their presence felt in the world. The Greater Will, maybe most of all. To this end, it sent a golden star hurtling towards the lands between. The Elden Star's incantation tells us that this golden star was bearing a beast, an Elden beast. The Elden Remembrance calls it a vassal beast of the Greater Will.
Yes.
If you didn't know, a vassal is someone who holds land on behalf of their overlord. Obviously, this is fitting in this case, because it holds land on behalf of their overlord.
Right.
Obviously, this is fitting in this case, because the Elden Beast occupied the lands between on behalf of the Greater Will, and was a living incarnation of the concept of order.
Okay.
As such,
I think that makes sense so far. I'm on board with that. I pretty much understood that he was inhabiting the essence of order with all the runic power that you see coursing through his veins.
This beast would later become the Elden Ring.
Ah, the beast became the Elden Ring. So Marika and Radagon were being held up in this rune arc of pure runic energy, which is the essence of order. And then it broke and he fell and he started fighting. And then when he lost, the puddle of it was finally regrouped itself, grabbed him, made him a sword, and then it emerged from that. Okay.
The Elden Ring itself is made up of runes of power, some great, some small, that together represent a sort of logic for the world to follow. Thus, the Elden Ring represents order. The true nature of this order is a subject of constant debate and research undergone by fundamentalists. But two of the key fundamentals are the laws of causality and regression. You can think of the law of causality as cause and effect, where actions have consequences, and those consequences are new causes that branch out into infinity. These are the relationships between things. Then there's the law of regression that states that all things eternally yearn to converge and return to their roots. Fittingly, then, the Elden Ring is housed within the Erdtree. which towers over the lands between. But it's very important to stress that life in the lands between did not begin with the Erdtree, the Elden Ring, or the Elden Beast.
Right.
No, the lands between were occupied well before the Greater Will came. There were other beings here. There were other factions here. There were other gods here. And there was even another great tree here before the Erdtree.
No way.
And this is where a huge twist regarding the Erdtree comes in. So, there are incantations in the game called Aspects of the Crucible. According to their descriptions, these are manifestations of the Erdtree's primal vital energies.
What the hell was
and
that?
I quote, "They are an aspect of the primordial crucible where all life was once blended together." But how could all life be blended together in the Erdtree if the Erdtree appeared after life existed?
So it absorbed it all?
Well, there can only be one answer, right? That the Erdtree is a parasite, and it took over a tree that existed here before. This ancient tree was called the Great Tree. So the Great Tree was almost certainly the location of this primordial crucible, and it must have been a very powerful primordial force for the Greater Will to have commandeered. It might even be the reason the Lands Between is important to the Greater Will in the first place. It also explains why spells and enemies related to the Great Tree's crucible would eventually be looked down upon. For example, the knot talisman is fashioned from a knotted vestige of the crucible, and it was considered a signifier of the divine in ancient times, but is now increasingly disdained as an impurity as civilization has advanced. Enemies related to the crucible are the Omen, the Misbegotten, and the Crucible Knights, and all three of them would be shunned, enslaved, or imprisoned. Those who speak for the Erdtree don't want you to know its roots, so to speak. According to the spell, protection...
So to speak. Hey, it's really true. Elden Ring turns you into Elden Ring speakers. So to speak. First off.
Of the Erdtree. In the beginning, everything was in opposition to the Erdtree, but through countless victories in war, it became the embodiment of order.
In Marika's own words, the Erdtree governs all. The choice is thine. Become one with the order, or divest thyself of it, to wallow at the fringes, a powerless upstart.
But the Greater Will needed more than a big tree. It needed loyal agents in the Lands Between. To this end, it has the Two Fingers, who are its envoys. The Two Fingers heirloom has a weird picture of them, but it reads, "Of course, fingers cannot speak, yet these are eloquent. Persistently they wriggle, spelling out mysteries in the air. Thus did we gain the words, the words of our faith."
Yeah, sure.
These words are interpreted by the finger readers. These are the undying old crones.
Give me your fingers. I can read them.
That you would have found throughout the Lands Between. They pass down the wisdom of the Two Fingers, or at least they used to.
Your fingers, please, your fingers. I can read them.
Most of them appear to have lost their purpose, and they're desperate to read your fingers and tell you annoying riddles, since their two fingers are likely dead.
Aww.
And yes, of course, there are multiple sets of two.
So they're self-soothing with my two fingers, right? What they really need is the fingers that they used to look up to, but they'll just take my grubby two little fingers.
Fingers. You would have found their corpses on the tops of the divine towers. Atop these towers, you loot the fingers in order to activate the true power of a great rune. Specifically though, you are giving benediction back to your great rune. You're taking a blessing back from the two dead fingers, essentially. This is just one of many blessings that the two fingers can bestow, and my point is kind of that the two fingers clearly have more than just influence. They have real power on some level.
Wait,
the Greater Will...
Were these in dungeons? Did I miss these?
More than just
what
influence.
Is this?
They have
I never seen this.
real power on some level. The Greater Will needs these powerful envoys and agents because, while it's obviously incredibly powerful, it does seem limited by a few things. First is
You never look around? Yeah, I do. You did see it? Oh, I did see it. What did I say? What did I say when I saw the fingers? That's where Ronnie died? Oh, I guess I did look up there, yeah. Behind Ronnie was the two fingers. You saw what you didn't notice. Okay. You said neat. Wow, those are big fingers. You didn't recognize. You said it was a tree. Those are some fingers. Okay, all right.
Space, the
I
greater
guess I didn't make the connection. They could be two fingers. For me, the two fingers of power were so far away, up in space.
clearly have more than just influence. They have real power on some level. The greater will needs these powerful envoys and agents because, while it's obviously incredibly powerful, it does seem limited by a few things. First is space. The greater will didn't come to the lands between itself, it sent an Elden beast to do its bidding instead. Second is time. There is a moment later in the game where your pair of two fingers go still because they're forced to commune with the greater will for guidance.
When they are finished, the fingers will again offer
Oh my god! This place in Camelot. Oh yeah, okay. That's
their guidance. But thousands, if not tens of thousands, of moons must first pass. No matter for me, but
I do remember this dialogue line, so I must have been aware of the fingers, but then I forgot about them.
you, how will you ever manage to wait?
So the greater will needs a physical manifestation of order. It needs envoys to convey its will, but what it also needs is a god. Introducing Marika the Eternal. I have this utterly
Hold up, what is this?
enormous mind map of Elden Ring's lore, and there's a reason she's at the center. She's essentially the equivalent of Elden
Hold on,
Ring's
let
lore.
me get my
and
notepad. Queen Marika the Eternal in the center. Yeah. Rewind. The Elden Ring. The Elden Beast. Alright, so this is what it takes to become a god of lore, yeah? By the way, we're off center. There we go. This is what it takes to become a god of lore. Alright, I'll do this for Warcraft 3. I'll do this for Slay the Spire. Malekith the Black Blade. Yeah, okay. Got it. Two fingers. Queen Marika the Eternal. I'm committing this to the Mind Palace memory that I don't have. Greater Will, the Erdtree, the Golden Order, Radagon, Millennia Blade of Miquella, Battle of Caelid, of course, Miquella the Unalloyed. Melina, and okay, cool, got it.
and there's a reason she's at the center. She's essentially the equivalent of Gwyn from Dark Souls, except unlike Gwyn, Marika didn't just crawl out of the dark and find power. To an extent, it seems like she earned it. We don't know much about her origins, except that she is of the Numen race, which is actually an origin that you can choose in the character selection.
Ah, the face of the Numen, supposed descendants of denizens of another world, long-lived but seldom born. Dude, imagine if I remembered that. Because I picked the prisoner, but I didn't... Perhaps... Wait, where's the prisoner? Nightfolk, Draconian, Reedlander, Seafarer, Northerner, Lone Aristocrat, Truth Seeker... Where's the prisoner? It's not here. Not classes. Oh, what did I pick? What did I actually ended up picking? Prisoner is the class, not the race. It's not the origin. I don't know, probably warrior. I don't... you chose Shrek, of course, but... You guys don't even remember what I picked too.
Screen. Numen come from outside.
Oh, you didn't pick anything. You made this. Ah, yeah. I didn't pick anything. I made my own origin.
The lands between, and are supposed descendants of denizens of another world, long-lived but seldom born. At some point, Marika was chosen as an Empyrean. What is an Empyrean? Well, an Empyrean is a being chosen by the fingers as a candidate for godhood. As an Empyrean, Marika received the aid of a shadow to do her bidding. So what is a shadow? Well, it's a wolf, shadowbound to its Empyrean by the two fingers.
Oh.
Luna Princess Rani is another example of an Empyrean with a shadowbound beast. You would have met Blythe. These creatures are the Empyrean's very own shadow. They are completely loyal to their needs, and by definition, incapable of treachery.
Dogs are such
Marika's
good
shadow
boys.
was a beast called Malekith.
Dogs are such
Marika's
good
shadow
boys.
was a beast called Malekith. Every Empyrean uses their shadow in different ways, but Marika's sole need of her shadow was as a vessel to lock away destined death. So what is destined death? Well, according
By locking away destined death, none of them can die.
to Enya, it's the rune of death.
The rune of death goes by two names. The other is destined death.
We mentioned earlier that the Elden Ring is made up of runes, and at some point, maybe when she was chosen as a god, Marika plucked the rune of death from the Elden Ring. She gave the rune of death to Malekith, her totally loyal shadow, who bore a black blade imbued with this rune. It's kind of genius, really. In a single act, she removed the concept of death from the lands between, while also commanding
Oh my god, it's not just the gods that are immortal now. It's everyone and everything. That's why I keep respawning, just bleeding some runes when I die, every time I fall off. That's why everyone looks so wasted. Like after a 3-day rave with no sleep and too much drugs. Oh, it's not just the gods. That's why there's so many skeletons and like weak, pathetic sword hanging off places.
total control of death through her shadow, who could deliver it at her whim.
Except Vare, apparently.
Now, some of you might be asking,
He dies.
if death is removed from the lands between, how come I can kill this dog? First off, shame on you.
Yes.
Second, from a lore point of view, that dog isn't really dead. It's
Oh.
simply in the process of its spirit, or its soul, returning to the Erdtree. Catacomb dungeons, for example, are specifically constructed near the roots of the Great Tree for this reason, so that the Erdtree
So that their spirit doesn't need to travel far?
can reabsorb their ashes back into it.
Wow.
This process replaced the concept of a death that you were destined to have. But this random spirit outside of a catacomb dungeon says it best. As another example of this theory, when you kill a major boss, you receive a remembrance of them. These are spirits, and they are hewn into the Erdtree.
Yeah, that's what they
In this
always
way,
said.
thanks to the Erdtree's grace, their spirits are immortalized, in a sense. This new form of death also explains what's happening when you summon spirits.
From ash and return to the Erdtree.
However, some spirits never return to the Erdtree, and they rise within death as corpses or skeletons instead.
To refuse the
So
Erdtree's
this
call
was
to
the new
return.
order, and it's
and
important.
to live within death is sickening.
So this was the new order.
That's a whole different spin on living in undeath. You're refusing the call and you're continuing to live in the undeath, which is what those mariners are. That's what Dee warned us about.
It's important to stress that it was in this moment, when the rune of death was removed, when destined death was taken, this is when order became the Golden Order.
The forbidden shadow plucked from the Golden Order upon its creation.
Specifically, this was Marika's Golden Order. So not only did she become a god and a vessel for the Elden Ring, she became renowned as Marika the Eternal for her removal of destined death. It was a huge part of her character and her reign as well.
Yeah.
However, Marika had more than just death to conquer. She
What
had
next?
wars to fight, as the world was occupied by many forces that could threaten her Golden Order.
Of course.
There was war with the Stormlord, who likely ruled over Stormvale, and there was a war with the Giants, who were masters of a flame that could burn the Erdtree. There was war with the Ancient Dragons, who incidentally had stones that could twist time and thus slay a god.
Damn. I thought they were all living in harmony to protect or attack the Erdtree. I guess it wasn't entirely harmony. I thought many of them protected the Erdtree.
And finally, there was war brewing with the Carian royalty, who had previously obeyed laws which contravened the Golden Order. Thus, sort of similar to how the Greater Will needed an Empyrean to enforce its will, Marika herself.
Well, it's not that I thought they're all in cohorts. Like, I knew the dragons were opposed. I knew some others were opposed. But I guess it's more fractured than I even imagined.
Now the Greater Will needed an Empyrean to enforce its will. Marika herself needed someone to wage war. So there was to be a husband, a consort, an Elden Lord. The man chosen was Horalu, a ferocious warrior who became known as the Lord of the Battlefield.
Yeah, I remember.
His crown was warranted with strength, and while it was for this strength that Marika married him, he was also required to take a vow to conduct himself as a lord. To suppress the ceaseless lust for battle that raged within, Horalu took the beast regent Sarosh upon his back. You'll notice this is another example of a beast being given for the purpose of serving order. Thus, in this moment, he went from being Horalu, warrior, to Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, consort to Queen Marika, and a certified Godfrey. Thus, in this notice, this is another example. Horalu was warranted with strength, taken for battle that raged within. Horalu took the beast regent Sarosh upon his back. You'll notice this is another example of a beast being given for the purpose of serving order. Thus, in this moment, he went from being Horalu, warrior, to Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, consort to Queen Marika, and a certified demigod. Godfrey and Marika had 3 demigod children together.
Who?
There was Godwyn the Golden, who you saw being killed
Yeah, he died in the opening trailer. I just saw that yesterday.
in the opening trailer, and there were also the reviled Omen twins, Morgoth, who guards the Erdtree, and
Okay, that's their children, Morgoth and Mog. So Morgoth, he was kind of complaining. At first, he's like, "Oh, you're not fit. You're put your ambitions to rest and whatnot." And then later, when I met him the second time, which was blessedly much shorter because it didn't take as long, and the player is generally overleveled a little bit when you meet. He was guarding anyone from ascending again. No, we don't know if they're actually your children. Is this conjecture or is he sure? Are you saying we're not really sure? Are we sure this lore is correct? I'm not sure of anything. We're sure? It's all conjecture. We're sure. Let's just assume it's true for now.
Moog, who became Lord of Blood. You might think that Godric was another demigod child, but he actually wasn't. Instead, he was probably descended from Godwyn. Anyway, we'll talk about the demigods.
Yeah, they said he was weak blood. I don't think he's straight up a child.
You might think
They said he had the weakest blood, so at the very least, there's some bastardization there.
that Godric was another demigod child, but he actually wasn't. Instead, he was probably descended from Godwyn.
A grandchild.
Anyway, we'll talk about the demigods more in detail in another video, so subscribe for that. But for now, just know that Godfrey and his offspring were the first demigods, henceforth known as the Golden Lineage.
Where does he get all
In
this
his
footage?
wars, Godfrey led his 16 Crucible Knights into battle, who were named so for they fought with the primordial powers of the Erdtree. Their incantations were aspects of the Crucible itself, and they likely fought giants, dragons, the Stormlord, and more to usher in their age.
That's why there's so many of them. Even though I'm like, another guy looks the same. There's a historical significance to them.
The age of
16? Yeah, I fought like 5. I found most of them.
the Erdtree.
In Marika's own words, "Hark, brave warriors. Hark, my Lord Godfrey. We commend your deeds. Guidance hath delivered ye through each ordeal to the place ye stand. Put the giants to the sword and confine the flame atop the mount. Let a new epoch begin, an epoch glistening with life. Brandish the Elden Ring for the age of the Erdtree."
The Erdtree would go on
Right.
to be largely seen as a blessing for all of those in the lands between, especially those close to it in Lanedell, the capital city of the Erdtree.
What
The
kind
tree
of
bestowed
blessings?
blessings. For example, the dew that dropped from its branches were like jewels. It loomed overhead as a constant reminder of order, and its roots reached far and wide, relieving many of the burden of death. In fact, Erdtree burial
How is death a burden? It's a relief. The burden of needing to fight Margit or Millennia over and over, that's a real burden.
Was one of the highest honors a hero could receive. One by one, the previous factions of the world fell. The giants were put to the sword, and their fell god was killed by Marika herself. The ancient dragons broke down the walls of Leyndell, but met fierce retaliation. However, I think the House of the Erdtree...
Is there a mod where you can play as the dragons and win? If I was gifted immortality, would I take it? Nah. I think I'm gonna get more and more bitter over time. Old people generally do. I'll take like 150 healthy years. But immortality, nah. There's a mod to play pretty much any enemy. Cool.
encountered the most trouble against the land to their southwest, Leonia. Here, the House of the Moon repelled their offensives time and time again, and I mean that literally, because there was not just one but two wars fought here, and in both of these, there was no victory for the Golden nor for the Moon. And I suspect it was probably because of these lobsters. These damn things can snipe you from like a mile away, and it's bullshit. Actually, it was probably because of the Carian Knights, who, according to their weapons, were able to wield sorcerous battle skills, and despite numbering fewer than 20, this power made them a match for even the champions of gold in battle.
The champions of gold.
These enchanted knights were anointed by the Lunar Queen, a young astrologer who went on to establish the House of Carian as royalty in this land, with her bewitching lunar magic.
So she's not one of Marika's children or consorts or anything like that. She's just a scholar.
The House of Anointed by the Lunar Queen, a young astrologer who went on to establish the House of Carian as royalty in this land. With her bewitching lunar magic, she won over the Academy of Raya Lucaria, where glintstone sorcery was studied, and united the Carian royal family and the learned scholars of Raya Lucaria defended their home from the golden aggressors. At the head of this great golden army was Radagon.
Wait,
Lord
what?
Radagon was a great...
Lucaria united the Carian royal family and the learned scholars of Raya Lucaria defended their home from the golden aggressors. At the head of this great golden army
they fought
was
each other.
Radagon.
Lord
and
Radagon
Renala.
was a great champion, possessed of flowing red locks. He came to these lands at the head of a great golden host. When he met Lady Renala in battle,
What the fuck
These
is
two
this face? What is this? This is not Renala. Renala has a face like a geisha. This is without makeup. Oh my god.
Champions clashed, fell in love, and joined their houses.
Wait, what?
These two champions clashed, fell in love, and
As you do. Who has not fallen in love with their opponents? I was a Warcraft 3 pro gamer. I get it.
joined their houses.
Radagon once cleansed himself with celestial dew, repented his territorial aggressions, and swore his love to Renala.
Oh, they were lovers. Renala and Radagon. But if Radagon and Marika are inside the same person, does that mean Marika is at least bi-curious?
Aggressions, and swore his love to Renala. The order of the Erdtree and the fate of the moon were conjoined, and all the wounds of war forgiven.
You might think it strange that the Greater Will would permit this union, but it's not too odd, all things considered. As with most From Software games, sorcery and faith are just two sides of the same coin, and both of these powers stem from the cosmos. Radagon and Renala were known to have 3 children together.
Okay.
Lunar Princess Rani, who inherited her mother's propensity for lunar magic, Radan, who took after his father Radagon and would go on to master gravitational magic, and Rykard, who pioneered new hex sorceries and would...
Alright, let me try to remember all of this. Marika and... Who had children? Marika and Radagon? Was it Marika and Radagon, right? They got children together. They made Margit and No. Marika and Horalu had children together. No, that's Horalu is Godfrey. Marika and Godfrey made children together. Godwyn, Mag, and Morgoth. Yeah, there we go. And then, presumably, Godwyn may have made the Grafted, whose name is Godric. And Rennala and Radagon made 3 children together, which is Radahn, Rani, and Rykard. Okay.
And Rykard, who pioneered new hex sorceries and would go on to feed himself to a great serpent.
As you do.
It follows that at some point after this, Marika began to harbor doubts. Doubts about the Golden Order that she had had a hand in creating.
In Marika's own words, I declare mine intent to search the depths of the Golden Order through understanding of the proper way. Our faith, our grace is increased. Those blissful early days of blind belief are long past. My comrades, why must ye falter?
How did they falter?
And it's at this point that we should talk about Marika's motivations, her character. This is surely going to be one of those huge points of debate in the coming years, but for now, my working theory is that she wanted to discover the truth behind order and the truth behind the greater will, and she believed that bonds had to be broken so that they could be better understood. She believed that there was great meaning to be found in hardship.
I agree, but must you go and create your own hardship? Isn't it better to endure that which is thrust upon your path unintentionally? Like just making things difficult for yourself in order to grow?
Marika has high hopes for us, that we continue to struggle unto eternity.
For Lord Godfrey, his struggle ended at the end of his campaigns. According to his armor, he led the war against the giants, faced the Storm Lord alone. And then there came a moment when his last worthy enemy fell, and it was then, as the story is told, that the hue of Lord Godfrey's eyes faded. In truth, he was robbed of his grace. Then Marika sent him away.
What?
My lord, and thy warriors, I divest each of thee of thy grace. With thine eyes dimmed, ye will be
Oh, that's why the little mobs have glowing eyes when they have bonus runes. They are essentially imbued by grace in that moment.
driven from the lands between. Ye will wage war in a land afar, where ye will live and die.
This became known as the Long March of the Tarnished,
What?
as Godfrey and his tarnished descendants walked away from the lands between.
Hi, Logan.
But Queen Marika absolutely had a plan here, that Lord Godfrey and his descendants would one day return stronger, having struggled outside of grace.
Then, after thy death, I will give back what I once claimed.
What's that?
Return to the lands between, wage war, and brandish the Elden Ring. Grow strong in the face of death. Warriors of my lord, Lord Godfrey.
Soon after, she found a new husband.
So she divests everyone of their grace, turning them to tarnished, as they have been tarnished by the removal of their connection to the grace. And then she sent them into the world. They said, good luck dying. When you die, I'll pick up your spirit and I'll send you back to the world. And then you can try to become Elden Lord. And I think she did all of it to understand how order and chaos works and the greater will works. It's all a big game to her. Everyone dying and living and by her will. She's playing God and it's all a game and she's just watching to see what happens.
Either that or a new husband was found for her.
She is a god after
When
yeah.
Godfrey, first Elden Lord, was hounded from the lands between, Radagon left Rennala to return to the Erdtree capital, becoming Queen Marika's second husband and king consort, taking the title of Second Elden Lord. The mystery endures to this day as to why Lord Radagon would cast Lady Rennala aside, and moreover, why a mere champion would be chosen for the seat of Elden Lord.
Whatever the case, as a part of this union, Radagon's prior 3 children with Rennala became demigod stepchildren, granted grace thanks to their new family tree. Rennala was broken by this.
Curious.
So was her country, Leonia. The Queen's set reads, when Rennala, head of both the Academy of Raya Lucaria and the Carian royal family, lost her husband Radagon, her heart went along with him. And then those at the Academy realized that Rennala was no champion after all.
Oh.
In the wake of Radagon's betrayal and Rennala's poor judgment,
She just had her heart broken and went into a depression.
Leonia struggled with civil war, with the Academy of Raya Lucaria on one side and the Carian royals on the other. And it's here, during the age of the Erdtree, that Lunar Princess Rani, daughter of Rennala and Radagon, stole a fragment of the Rune of Death.
She stole it? From the Black Knives? Or did she commission the Black Knives? She told you? Oh, she told me and I should know then. Do you remember everything I told you, Desanen? What's the birthday of my dog? She's her wife? Yeah, I know.
It happened during the golden age of the Erdtree, long before the shattering of the Elden Ring. Someone stole a fragment of the Rune of Death from Malekith, the Black Blade.
As mentioned previously, Malekith was Marika's shadow, and he had sealed destined death in a black blade. Then a fragment, only a fragment, of this Rune of Death was stolen.
Just a bit.
And once this happened, Malekith went a step further in protecting destined death. He bound the blade within his own flesh, such that none might rob death ever again. It was too late, however. This fragment of the Rune of Death was used immediately, that night, to kill a demigod, Marika's own son, Godwyn the Golden.
That was the first recorded death of a demigod in all history.
Wow.
And it became the catalyst. Soon, the Elden Ring was smashed, and thus sprang forth the war known as the Shattering.
Now, there is a lot of really credible evidence that Marika was behind this plot to have a fragment of the Rune of Death stolen.
Isn't that super capricious? No way. If Marika's behind it, then is Rani a pawn? But if Rani is a pawn, then how come Rani won out over Marika with my help in the end? As gods often are. Yeah, I suppose they are.
There's also a ton of evidence that Marika is behind the entirety of your Tarnished quest, but we'll talk about that in another video.
Marika wanted to be killed? Oh my god, what if?
For now, all you really need to know, in terms of the timeline at least, is this. After the marriage of Marika and Radagon, and after a fragment of the Rune of Death was stolen, Marika went on to shatter the Elden Ring, and Radagon attempted to repair it, to no avail. The Elden Ring had been broken into runes, some great and some small.
You know, it's said that Lord Radagon harbored a secret.
Yes.
A famed sculptor of the Erdtree capital was once summoned to render
Yeah, he saw something was missing.
Lord Radagon's likeness in giant stature when he glimpsed the skeleton in Radagon's closet.
Oh, not quite.
And as such, it's said the great statue harbors his secret too.
Oh no, that was my own fanfic in my mind. Yeah, I thought something was missing. But actually, that's not what they said. I just filled it in my head. It's actually just a secret.
Of course, the huge twist in Elden Ring is that Radagon is Marika, or depending on what you believe, he became her, for she knew it was going to happen.
In Marika's own words, O Radagon, Leal Hound of the Golden
To
Word.
see what happens
It's
when I
his
say...
secret too.
Of course, the huge twist in Elden Ring, he became her, for she knew it was going to happen.
In Marika's own words, oh,
And as such, when he glimpsed the skeleton in Radagon's closet. And as such, it said the great glimpsed the skeleton in Radagon's closet. And as such...
Did you guys figure this out? That you can do some dance and turn divine man into divine woman? It's a quest chain. Oh, I didn't do this one.
It said the great statue harbors his secret too.
Of course, the huge twist in Elden Ring is that Radagon is Marika, or depending on what you believe, he became her, for she knew it was going to happen.
in Marika's own words, O Radagon, leal hound of the Golden Order,
Leal?
thou art yet to become me. Thou art yet to become a god. Let us be shattered, both. Mine other self.
Both.
You can
mine
tell when
other
From
self.
Software
What?
is keeping something a little bit open-ended, and of everything in Elden Ring's lore, this will also go on to be one of the biggest unknowns as we move forward. For example, the wording, thou art yet to become me, reinforces that Marika and Radagon were two separate entities before the Shattering. However, in contrast, there is also evidence that Radagon was always part of Marika. For example, Enya says that
The demigods are each and all the direct offspring of Queen Marika.
but how can this be if Radagon married Renala and had those demigod children? The only way that makes sense is if Radagon was always Marika and he just went over there to seduce Renala long ago. I'll present more concrete theories
Lesbian sex with children.
in the future, but on this
They got children from it. From scissoring.
matter, the most important thing is, what do you think? While you can figure out a ton of Elden Ring's story, not all of it is open to interpretation. Certain things are, and this is one of them. And your interpretation is a big part of what makes this story special. At any rate, the union of Radagon and Marika seems to be a union of two fundamental opposing laws of the Golden Order. We mentioned these laws earlier, actually. There's the law of causality,
And regression.
Marika is an agent of cause and effect. And there's the law of regression, as Radagon is a character who aspires to be complete and regress together. So I have a theory that forcing these two beings that represent these concepts together would have corrected Marika's deviance. But even so, she was imprisoned in the Erdtree for the crime of the Shattering.
Marika's trespass demanded a heavy sentence. But even in shackles, she remains a god and the vision's vessel.
Who shackled her?
The conjoined Radagon and Marika even had two demigod children of their own, Mikola and Millennia. These two children were born afflicted. Mikola
Oh.
was cursed
From incest with self.
with eternal childhood, and Millennia harbored a horrific rot within.
Poor Millennia.
Even so, these two children were both chosen as imperial.
Grubby, is it mitosis or incest? Well, if mitosis is the word for one creature without pollination from another animal to create offspring, but it's not a clone, right? Is that what mitosis is? Cell splitting. Is mitosis cell splitting? It's whatever you want it to be, I guess. Oh, it is cloning. Cell division, yeah. But isn't the Elden Beast also Radagon? I don't think so, actually. No, I don't think so. Not anymore.
They were immensely sacred beings and eligible to
Elden
inherit
Beast is
godhood
everything.
from the greater will.
No,
Perhaps the
Elden Beast isn't everything either. Because it's a foreign entity to the lands between.
chosen as Empyreans. They were immensely sacred beings and eligible to inherit godhood from the greater will. Perhaps the greater will was just desperate to find a worthy successor, And indeed, in the Shattering War to come, many would try to claim the shards of the Elden Ring, and they would try to take the throne, including, of course, the Tarnished, who returned from their long march at long last.
And didn't
which
die.
we'll talk about in the next main lore video. I should probably also mention here that if you become a patron, you'll see upcoming lore videos early, as that's one of the rewards you get if you pledge to the $3 tier. And if you think my channel really adds a lot of value to the Souls games for you to the point where you pledge $20, then in this new tier you'll receive a new mug every 3 months that has a unique design on it, to do with the games by From Software. There are 4 to collect. The first one you'll get is inspired by Dark Souls, then
Does he have licensing rights with FromSoft? That's crazy.
Elden Ring, then Sekiro, and finally Bloodborne. And they all have fantastic art that I worked on with an amazing artist named
Oh, custom art. Oh, I see. That works. And he does not have the right? It's fan art. Derivative fan art. Oh, he commissioned artist. That's cool. Oh.
Chu. But anyway, I figured this is the right place to end this video because
I think this adds a lot to the enjoyment of the story, especially heading into the DLC, yeah.
the information here is going to be overwhelming. I bet it probably was too overwhelming, you know? It took me ages to commit these names and the relationships they had with other characters to memory, so I hope you guys are doing alright. One thing that helped me a
It's okay, I have a very good memory.
lot was that we designed an enormous mind map with pretty much all of Elden Ring's lore, all of its item descriptions, all of its dialogues, all of the relationships between characters that we can think of. We added
I used to have really good memory before streamer brain, so know the sacrifice I made for you guys. Do you like the story? Yeah, I love it.
all of this together, and it helped a ton in learning about the story and visualizing it all. And one day I will make this asset available to you all, because I think after doing it, I think this is the quintessential way to piece together the story, and I think giving you guys this asset eventually will make that accessible for people. So I'm really excited about that. I want to thank Absa and Zard for accepting the paid task of helping me put all the raw data into this mind map so that I could better understand everything. I want to thank Paragod for fulfilling all of my footage requests and creating so many cinematic scenes for this video and for you all to enjoy. And I last of all want to thank John Devlin for the incredible thumbnail. And of course, thank you for watching. There are some really exciting things ahead, and I actually believe this might be the best story that From Software have ever put together. I just think not only are there so many amazing item descriptions, but so many of them are impactful. There are so many moments where you piece together the story and have like a eureka moment, and I'm enjoying it so much. But now I'm gonna go and play the game a little bit because I've been editing this video for too long. So, see you next time.
Very cool. Very nice video. Yeah, I have his whole playlist here in the link. It's in the
The
chat
demigod.
and in the YouTube description. We understand it a little bit more, and there's more.